For the delay here, folks. I think they're still working on it a little bit.
We're good.
We have a few Zoom issues.
If it's just the YouTube links, we need to move on. Yeah.
Yeah, it's time for us to start. Which you guys probably know.
I have one of my interns looking at that.
Is Jeff Tom on?
Is there anyone on?
Is there anyone on? Yeah.
Gene Lozano.
Hi, Gene.
Hi.
You're gonna chair.
All right, folks. Jeff Tom does not seem to be on, and so as vice chair, I will call this meeting to order. And we'll start with introduction of council members and staff and public. And to start with, I will call on the members here in the room, starting over there with Frank.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Frank Trio. I'm a member of the River City chapter.
Yeah.
Helen O'Connell, Chair of the TCMP Committee. Thank you.
Charles Johnson, Vice Chair. Okay, those on Zoom, MAC members, would you introduce yourselves, please? Gene?
Gene Lozano, Chair of the Access and Infrastructure Subcommittee and representing people with visual impairments at large.
Okay, anyone else, any other MAC member on Zoom, please identify yourself. Oh, okay, and Priscilla, would you introduce staff?
Yeah, I'll actually introduce myself and then everybody has a mic so they can introduce themselves. Priscilla Vargas, I'm the staff liaison for the MAC and ADA compliance officer. Richard?
Richard Mitchell, Director, Community and Contract Bus Services.
Vincent Beatty, Director of Light Rail Operations.
Charity Oakley, Transportation Superintendent.
Can we get a microphone over, a mobile microphone over?
Jessica Gonzalez, Director of Marketing, Communication, and Public Information.
Michael Cormay, Director of Light Rail Maintenance.
Anthony Adams, Director of Planning.
James Drake, Senior Manager of Service Planning.
Good evening, everybody. This is my first meeting. My name is Thomas Russell Jr. I'm the new superintendent for SAC-RT Go and CBS services on Richard's team. I'm glad to be here and thanks committee for allowing me to speak.
Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Jamie Pulcanavery, Director of Customer Satisfaction.
Austin Greiner, Accessible Services.
Alan Figueroa Camarena, Accessible Services.
Okay. And is that it for staff?
We have
Mr. Chair,
folks in
Yes.
the public.
I am here, but the link did not work, so I had to call in.
Okay. Do you want me to continue as running the meeting, Jeff, or do you want to do it?
Yeah, you might as well because it's a lot easier to recognize people and stuff like that. So go right ahead.
Okay, very good. And welcome. And we also have you down now as present for the meeting. That's great, Jeff.
Yes.
Okay. Members of the public.
Dan Allison.
Dan Allison is here.
And Jeff Tartagia, applicant.
Jeff Tartagia. Okay. All right. And all right, let's move on then. We're down to approval of the July 18 minutes. Are there any additions or changes or modifications to the minutes? Jeff, this is only for MAC members.
I move for the approval of the meeting minutes.
I'm
Gene.
sorry, Gene, would you repeat?
I move for the approval of the meeting minutes
As written?
as written.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Helen seconds. We have a motion and a second. All MAC members in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? The July, pardon me, the July 18 minutes are approved. Okay, now we move on to public comment. These are comments for items not on the agenda. Are there any? Okay, Jeff Tardagia. And we need a mic for him.
The first thing I want to offer is to staff for the last week with the bus cancellations. There were a lot of them, more than 30 or 40 of them, and I believe they handled them very well by 9 o'clock in the morning. Now we'll go into some of the deficiencies that are not MAC related. And that is simply the fact that there's a lot of fare boxes. And I'm pointing right now to the Connect card at 29th Street that has not been working for months. And the Sac Valley station now, there is no Connect card that works at all. I'm hoping that MAC will find out when the Sac Valley station low floor platform over there will be fixed, repaired, or what's the outcome of that, as well as the many ongoing projects that I've seen no updates on. I'm talking about dealing with the out there to Folsom. Is there any accessibility issues? And what is the status of the I-80 station location as well? What's the status of how is it? And has there been any new complications resulting from the construction work that's going on the I-80 elevator? That's taken 8 years.
Thanks, Jeff. Any other comments from the public, either here or on Zoom?
Hello, my name is,
I'm sorry.
so I have a comment.
Yes, go ahead. And who's this?
Because this is Joseph, who else
Okay.
from RIL.
Go right ahead.
Yeah, hi. So, I live right across the street from the Township 9 light rail station, the one on 7th and Richards. And it's really convenient to get around because it's just right across the street. But one of the issues I have is there's no service during the weekends, and I do have some caregivers that are unable to drive. So sometimes they get up on the 13th Street light rail because they have to walk all the way from 13th all the way to my apartment. So I was just wondering, are there any plans to extend the Green Line to work during weekends?
Okay, thank you very much for that comment. Okay, any other comments from the public on items not on the agenda from members?
Regina Brink on Zoom.
Yes.
I just wanted to say I'm here, and I'm not sure if we went through the Zoom participants, but I wanted to let you know I was here.
Oh, thank you.
I have a comment.
Representing California Council of the Blind. Just so I'm sorry, Capital Chapter of the California Council of the Blind. For the minutes, thanks.
Okay, I heard another voice.
Jeff, Mr. Chair. Just a quick comment. Maybe the Connect card machine issue is something that one of our speakers from the light rail side of the fence can address later on. I don't know, but if somebody can, I would urge them to do that.
Sounds good. We will try to find an appropriate place to fit that in.
Oh.
Actually, if there is someone that can do it now, that would be a good way of doing it. Is there someone from light rail who can address the Connect card issue that was raised?
Not sure if we can address it right now. Jamie?
Let's get a mic.
So what I think I hear you saying, Jeff, and I know we've spoken before about this, the concern is that there are multiple Connect card machines that are not working currently and that may have been down for quite some time. Does that sound about right? Yep. Okay. All right. So that is the case at a number of Connect card machines. We are currently, our IT department, they currently are working with a vendor. For several months, we did have some delays because we were waiting for parts. That I think has since not been an issue, but what they're looking to do is get the Connect card machines repaired, but they do take some time. Either way, they take some time. I know you specifically said 29th, and was there another, Jeff? Sac Valley. Okay. What I will do is I will work to find out what those specific statuses are. And I'm happy to report back to Jeff directly and also make sure that the MAC has that information.
That sounds good. And my understanding is that Connect or the machine readers, it's an ongoing problem with these things.
It is really, I think the problem is that these get damaged very easily. A lot of it is beyond our control. However, the good news is that we try to prevent this as much as possible, but our Security Operations Center, they do monitor and they do take action pretty darn quickly. And ultimately, the big picture down the road, ultimately these machines, I think, will be replaced with our account-based system. And so we don't have any updates to that. That's going to be Casey at some point. We'll come back and share that with the group when we're there. But ultimately, that's where it'll be. So this will not be forever. The other positive is that if someone cannot tap their card, they are able to get on board. Our TAs are understanding and they're able to check and make sure that you have fare. So rest assured, you'll still be able to board. I know it's a minor inconvenience, won't be forever, and I'll get those 2 locations an update.
Okay, great. Thank you very
Cool.
much.
All right.
And we'll see if we can agendize this before. And just to confirm, I have myself experienced the machine reader not reading. And when I got on board, I was able to pay my fare. Okay.
Mr. Chair, I can respond on the Green Line question briefly.
Okay, you want to identify yourself?
Sure. Yeah, James Drake with SAC RT Planning. And I mean, the short answer, I think, is no, we're not looking at expanding the Green Line number of stations or hours. Big picture for service expansion right now, our budgetary posture is just no expansion. It's a tight budget year for us. Probably the other answer is we do, always advise people Route 11, bus Route 11 is another option. Off peak, it's only every 45 minutes, but it does offer Saturday and Sunday service. So if you're trying to get up to Richards Boulevard, that's another option, also by way of 7th and 8th Street.
Okay, thanks, James. Any other comments here? Okay, we'll move on to the chair report. And Jeff, do you have anything here? I have nothing.
No, I do not, Mr. Chair. So move on.
All right. Thank you for that extensive chair report. Let's see, old business. Number A, public education communication plan for S700 trains and in-person customer service support efforts during launch. And Jessica Gonzalez, Director of Marketing and Planning and Public Communications. Jessica.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for having me. So one reminder I had mentioned last time, just want to remind everyone that we're hosting an event this Saturday, August 17th at the 7th and Richards Township 9 station from 10 a.m. to noon. Again, this event is specifically for seniors and persons with disabilities to test out the new S700 to be able to see how all the features work. So we're excited to have everybody out and try that out. We are also hosting a community event, a very large community event on Tuesday, September 3rd to celebrate the launch of the new service. And that again will be at 7th and Richards Township 9 station. And that event will be from 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. So we have lots of information on our website and more information will be going out about this. But we are planning to have a bus bridge available from 13th Street to get riders to Township 9, because I know that was one of the challenges we've had in the past, since we do have to stop Green Line service during the event. So we're looking forward to having everyone out there. And I have some other really good news. The ADA How to Ride both videos, plural, have been approved. They are both now live on YouTube and added to our website at sacrt.com/new trains. I do plan to send that out to our riders and partners next week. So expect to see that in email, but I'll make sure Priscilla has both those links as well. She can send that out after this meeting. A few other communication items, just want to have everyone be aware of. So I had told everyone about the banners we had at the mini high ramp. So we have now updated them with the September 1st launch date to let everyone know that on Gold Line and Green Line, boardings will change. Everyone will board at the platform level. We are also holding a series of pop-ups at the different light rail stations the 2 weeks leading up to the launch of the S700s. And so those locations will be available on our website starting next week. And so this is going to be a really nice opportunity for people to get more information about how to ride and ask in person people from my team questions about the new trains. Also A-frame, so the signage will go out at different stations 2 weeks before the launch of service. And then we'll also be doing dropping flyers along all the park and rides along the Gold Line so that all those riders that are normally riding our current legacy fleet are going to find out, hey, guess what? Starting on September 1st, you're going to see a new train. Also, just to let people know kind of about the staffing that we're going to have for the launch of the new trains. So we actually are going to have 30 additional security guards dedicated to the central business district at those light rail stations that have the mixed fleet, meaning the blue line is coming through with our legacy fleet, those high floor trains, and the low floor trains are coming through for the gold and green lines. And so that will be an additional to be able to help people, let them know where to stand, how it works, and they will be there for at least a month. So from the beginning of service leading up through the month. We'll also have staff on all of the trains as well. And then also SAC-RT staff is going to be stationed at different stations between Tuesday, September 3rd and Sunday, September 8th to assist riders. We're going to be stationed between 6:30 a.m. and 8 p.m. all of those days. And we'll be actually handing out fun different swag items, different information about how to ride, and really celebrating with the riders. So we're really excited about that, as long as a number of other communication items that I normally do. And we'll make sure that this group gets all of that information as well.
All right, Jessica, thank you. It sounds like a well-planned rollout, and we'll see.
We're excited, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, are there any questions or comments from members of the MAC? Okay, Frank.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So it's only going to go to the September 1st, the email I received. It says it's only going to Irish or whatever it's called, Ish or something. But how long is it going to take to go all the way to Folsom? Because I have members in Folsom.
Yeah.
Are they still going to be able to ride the high?
No. So currently what happens at Iron Point is we do have a bus bridge between Iron Point and Historic Folsom because we're double tracking there to allow for 15-minute frequency. So that project is still continuing through October. We don't have a full launch date yet. We're looking at mid-October. So once that construction finishes, then the new trains will continue to Historic Folsom.
Okay, but the old trains will still be working.
No old trains. No.
Okay.
No.
Okay, so I'll update my members then.
Yeah, we have a bus bridge that's been in place, and that will continue until the construction's finished.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, Jeff, I'll get to you in a minute. Any other questions from MAC members in the room here? Okay, questions from MAC members on our Zoom connection?
Gene.
Okay, Gene.
Okay, I have 3 questions. Do you have and can you share with us what is your program or agenda for the August 17th showing and also for your event on September 3rd? So when people arrive at both events, what will occur so that they are familiar with that?
Okay, in case people could not hear Gene, he was asking about if there are agendas for both the August 17th and the September 3rd meeting. I think I captured that.
Agendas?
I think that's what you said,
the
Gene.
program.
Oh, program.
I'm assuming that.
well, not really. August 17th, it's just really an open house. So the train will be there. I will have a tent with my staff there to help answer questions. We'll have some materials, also materials in Braille available. And then light rail staff and other staff will be there to assist with any questions, show how the ramps work, the doors work, things like that. But there's no official program.
So there's no overview given.
Yeah, and then for the September 3rd event, we will have a number of different things there. We'll have food trucks and different vendors and booths, but really the idea is the train is there to celebrate, the launch of the service. So no official agenda or program.
Okay. The other question had to be, and I missed part of it. You mentioned when after it's open and getting the information out to people, various things, use of A-frames, and what are those going to be used for, and where are they going to be placed?
Gene, we're having a hard time hearing you. Is
I
there any
don't
way
know what more I can do.
His
I got it right
question
in
was
now.
where the A-frame is going to be used.
Thank you, Jeff.
Gene, I think you're referring to the S700 update.
I thought it was, after the system is in operation, that there was going to be different methods of informing people about the closure of the ramps and other things. And I was wondering about, there was a mention of A-frames. And where will those be? And what will they do, their function?
Yeah, I believe that is what you're referring to, and that's going to be under item S700 update.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I just heard it right now, so I was wondering, that's all.
No, we're good.
Thank you.
We'll be there shortly, but thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions from MAC members on the on Zoom?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I have one comment and a question. And this is a comment that both Gene and I have made. So, Gene, if I misspeak, you can correct me. But we didn't make it to Jessica, and that is that although I think we were both a little dubious about the audio description for the video, it turned out really well. And so we're happy, we're really glad to hear that, and we'll be, eager to have that shared with our folks and others in the community. The question, and this may not be a Jessica question, this may be a Richard or Kathy or whatever. When someone goes to make a paratransit for actually either of these two events, or SAC-RT Go, I should say, should they just say 7th and Richards, Township 9 Square? Is that the way they would put it?
Yes, but I would also have them add that it's for that event. So then that way those notes can be, put in there, and also that the reservationists will identify that that's what we're scheduling for.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from MAC members? And members of the public? Jeff Tardagia.
Jessica, I would suggest that at the Township 9, which is where both of these is, have Deborah print out kind of an agenda, so where to go. And also that would be helpful is taking a sandwich board and make that the paratransit's pick up and drop off point at both locations, so there be no confusion.
Yeah, I can work with Richard and we'll figure that piece out for sure.
And the other thing I will offer is, I think you need to do at 29th Street some security, and at 65th Street when you do for that first month.
We have our other guards. We have I think 80 other guards, but we're hiring an additional 30 just specifically for the downtown mixed fleet. But we still have other guards and TAs and all of our other staff. We're just hiring extra for the mixed fleet.
Will note so far, I haven't seen at either 29th Street or at 65th Street a yellow shirt or something else around there when I utilize those.
I will share that with our VP. Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments for Jessica, either in the room or online? Okay, hearing none. Jessica, many thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, look forward to the upcoming events. Okay, next item under old business is Downtown Riverfront Streetcar Light Rail Project with Anthony Adams, Director of Planning. Anthony.
Good afternoon. We're going to pull up a PowerPoint in just a second. So this is an update about the downtown Riverfront streetcar. I presented here about 9 months or so, just to give a little bit of background. This project is not new. It's originally proposed in 2014, and the alignment has changed just slightly. The origin and destination are basically the same. It's going to begin at Sutter Health Park and terminate at Sac Valley Station. As part of that previous update, I was able to provide a status update on where the environmental was, where the layout of the streetcar was, and also some of the design considerations that we had in mind. Some of the feedback I got at the time was the concern about the cycle track that we were proposing to put behind the station on N Street. We also had a request to look at changing the name from streetcar to light rail. While this project is a light rail extension and hopefully will be just the first step of an investment into West Sacramento, the project has received substantial grant awards with this name, so the name cannot be changed. This is something that I wanted to do at the beginning as well, but because of the funding commitments, we'll keep it at the streetcar, and maybe once we build it, we can change the name afterwards. But at the moment, we have to keep it at that. But I appreciate the consideration and realizing that this really is a light rail extension at heart. Next slide. Oh, Austin, please, next slide.
Next slide, Austin.
Thank you. So this is the schedule that was presented at the last MAC meeting. I apologize for how small some of that text is. I'll try to describe it. So this project is currently in design, and we were actually compiling what's called a Small Starts application. Small Starts is a federal program that funds fixed guideway projects, basically. So this project has already received a Small Start grant, $50 million, but it's a new alignment, so we have to resubmit it. We're just about to wrap that up. It's actually due in just a couple weeks. Concurrently, we have been doing design as well. Design is currently at 85%. This design has been reviewed by West Sacramento and is currently under review by the city of Sacramento as well. I have passed forward that request to have the street level cycle track be not behind the station and not on the level of the sidewalk. I would like to clarify that SAC-RT will not be designing the cycle track. We are just making sure the space is there when we build the streetcar that the cycle track can be built. We're not going to preclude it. So the design of that is up to the city, although we would like to make sure that there is room to be on the street, and we don't want to preclude that as well. And just maybe on a personal note, recently I went to Portland. It was actually very inspirational to see a city that was really transit first. And they had a project there that was a BRT, and there was a conflict between the bikes and the BRT and the pedestrians. It was actually a corridor, a high-speed arterial that they needed to get bikes off of the street. And what they ended up having was they did put the cycle track on the sidewalk. They striped it, they made it green. They put the truncated domes on each side of it, and they had all of the warning signs and signs that you could have. It was kind of an imperfect solution, but it did improve safety in the area. So bikes, which had quite a bit of accidents in that area, the accidents decreased, the safety increased for that. So although we're not doing the final design on the cycle track at the moment, I would like to use that as an example of a way that there are going to be competing needs here. There's going to be needs for cyclists, for pedestrian safety as well, and needs for people with either sight or hearing disabilities that might need extra clarification on what's going to be put there. So during this design process, I want to make sure that we all come together, that all the needs are spelled out, but also that we have a little bit of give and take in this process. So although we're not going to have the final bite at the apple right now, we are going to make sure we don't preclude the cycle track. We don't preclude it going in the front or the back, but there will be another opportunity for us to address the design of the cycle track going forward. So as I stated before, we are currently about to submit Small Starts. Once we submit that, we're going to have FTA review. It's actually going to take up to 2 years for them to approve all of our funding. We are hoping to start construction in 2027. It's about 3 years from now. and then have it done in 2029, right about the time the A's either choose to stay or leave. We're hoping that will entice them to stay just a little bit longer. Next slide. So this is a lot of words on here. I'm just going to go briefly through this, but this is the progress that we've made to date since basically the last presentation that I gave here. We've completed all the stakeholder outreach. We presented to the Active Transportation Commission, the Downtown Partnership, City Council, and over in West Sacramento as well. We have shown the alignment to West Sacramento. We had a comment matrix of 92 different comments that we addressed. So the alignment and the design is okay with them. All of the environmental impacts have been identified with this project, and all of the mitigations have been proposed as well. The good news is there's no significant impacts for this project. We also have to do tribal consultations here in California. It's very important, and actually downtown Sacramento is a very sensitive area. This is not something that was brushed over. We have been sincere in our consultations and are even doing what I would call enhanced mitigations to ensure that we recognize that this is tribal land. We're going to do some sort of mosaic or interpretive sign there. And as I said before, design is ongoing. We're at 85%. We've already received some comments from West Sacramento, and Sacramento is reviewing right now. We're also doing a co-op with Caltrans. You might know that bridge, the famous Capitol Bridge, the gold one, that's owned by Caltrans. And this streetcar is going to go over that bridge. As such, we have to have a co-op with them and make sure we have an operations and maintenance agreement with Caltrans. So just one more bureaucratic level to go through. We are hoping to get that done in just the next couple of months, though. And finally, we did a model run. It's called STOPS. Model is what FTA likes, Federal Transit Administration. But we did do that model run. The ridership is actually really good on it. So that ridership that we have is going to translate into a score, and that score is going to translate into how much money we get for the streetcar. So we're hoping to submit it soon and then be able to secure some additional funding to close the funding shortfall. Next slide. These are the next steps. We're going to submit just in a couple of weeks. We're going to get that co-op signed by Caltrans by the end of the month. In just a couple months, we're going to have the NEPA and the CEQA ready to review. We're going to be sending it to our stakeholders in just the next month. We're going to get their comments in there, put them in, and hopefully have that adopted by November. So before the end of the year. Once we have environmental adopted, we're going to incorporate all of those things into our design and hope to have that done by 2025. For this project, we're also going to have to hire a full-time project manager. I'm currently the director of planning. I'm spending about 20% of my time on this project. This project, once it gets into small starts, will require at least 50% of someone's time. So we're considering either hiring someone internally or externally for this project. As part of the streetcar, it does cost money to operate. We're currently estimating around $4 million at the moment. And as such, we have to have an agreement with West Sacramento to operate that and how to pay for the operations of the streetcar. And as I said before, we are looking for some shortfall funds. We're either going to do raise mega SACOG or try to get that from the Small Starts program. Next slide. And this is the funding plan that we have right here. We are going to be asking for $50 million from the Small Starts grant when we submit it. If we don't get that, then we're going to go to some other funding sources from the feds. But that timeline that I showed you does give us about 2 years to secure any shortfall as we see. And that is my update. So I would like to open the floor to any questions. Thank you.
Hey, thank you very much. Just to, actually, I'll reserve my comments for the end here. Any questions or comments from members, MAC members on Zoom?
Yes, Gene.
Hi, Gene. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you for the update, Anthony. And I'm going to do this backwards comment first. These class 4 bicycle lanes, when they're at street level, and that it doesn't require a pedestrian to have to cross that bicycle lane to go to catch a bus or a vehicle, we have no problems with that. The concern is really when it's at, like you saw in Portland, at street level.
Mm-hmm.
That is the bigger thing. And then having to go out to a floating bus stop to catch a bus. The bus needs to come to the curb for safety, crossing the lane. There is a device that Portland is not using, but there is a device called a trapezoid delineator, warning delineator, and it went to scientific study back in 2019 for the city of San Francisco. The city of San Francisco has put that on Treasure Island, the trapezoid warning delineator made of iron, cast iron. Sacramento County Department of Transportation is supposed to get the final approval for the Arden Way corridor corridor phase 1 project on Arden Way between Watt and Morris Avenue, I believe it is, and where they cannot, it has a raise. No, I'm sorry, my streets are off. It's Morris to Ethan Way. I apologize. But it's going to be, most of it is going to be at sidewalk level. There's places where they will separate it through landscaping, but they will be putting in places where there's not sufficient space, the trapezoid warning delineator. And it's made by a company called Strongo. If you want to check it out, it's made of concrete. They're still up in the air deciding whether it's going to be yellow, subtle yellow, or whether it will be white in color. That the county's Department of Transportation is still deliberating over that. And they will experiment to see how it holds up under vehicular traffic, where the driveways will intersect the sidewalk and the raised cycle track. So just on that, I wanted to know, and you answered the question through at our executive committee meeting. This is to do with the streetcar, the vehicle. And I think my understanding is that the Siemens S700 streetcar and the Siemens 700 streetcar, the interior is exactly the same. There's that passengers will not see any differences, in my understanding. And I'd like to confirm the first part, that is just the equipment that is a little different, where the streetcar is designed for short distances, the constant start and go, versus the light rail vehicle. Is that correct in my understanding?
My understanding is we actually have special light rail vehicles that have a low gear and a high gear, because some of our light rails go past the city and they go up to 50 or 60 miles an hour. Yeah, 55. So there, this streetcar will have both of those. We want to have interchangeability between our fleet, so it will have the ability to go high speed as well.
So it actually will be, R2 will be eventually purchasing actually the light rail vehicles rather than the streetcar, and just to name the project as streetcar.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks. I do want to comment on your trapezoid delineator idea. It's a great idea. I mean, we had truncated dome is just what I know at the moment. So if there's other solutions, we really appreciate those as a suggestion, and it might save us, digging around a little while to find something that works for you. So thank you.
Yeah, and that detectable warning, unfortunately, it's not the proper use of it, because that tells a blind person you can proceed and cross this with caution. And the delineator, the trapezoid delineator, is supposed to tell you both the bicyclist and the pedestrian do not cross over, except where there's a break in it, and where you'd have the detectable warnings if it's intended for a pedestrian to cross through it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the educational thing that places, unfortunately, Portland, who's ahead on a lot of things, that's something I'm surprised they didn't pick up on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gene. Any other comments from MAC members on Zoom? Okay, hearing none. Any comments or questions? Okay, Helen.
Yes, I was wondering if the streetcar is going to be based in West Sac, right? So, is they're going to do the operations and management kind of thing, payment thing. Are the drivers going to be from RT, or are they having the same thing but different drivers? How does that work?
Thank you for that question. Great answer, or great question. I mean, in Portland, it's a whole separate JPA, right? It's a whole funding revenue source and expenditure source. So great question. That has not all the way been decided yet. Now, what is assumed at this time is that SAC-RT would be the operator, and that the relationship between West Sacramento and SAC-RT has yet to be solidified. So it could be that they pay us for that service. We say what the amount is, we come to an agreement on how much they're going to pay, and then we have certain criteria by which we have to provide that service. If that's the case, I mean, SAC-RT would be the operator, it'd be all the union folks that we have now, same exact thing. Could be also that we annex West Sacramento into our service area. And if that's the case, we would be able to claim all of their transit money and be able to provide different transit services as well. They would get a seat on our board, have a little bit more responsibility in the operations of it as well. So that is a conversation that needs to happen with the executives at West Sacramento and the electeds at West Sacramento. And we're actually going to have that conversation. It's very timely that you asked, and just really the next couple, 3 weeks. This is going to try to be decided, because once we submit to small starts, the feds are going to ask that same question. How are you going to operate it? Who's going to pay for it? Are you secure? And is this a stable funding source that is going to be paying for this? So we are just about to get to that inflection point.
I was just curious because when RT went to Folsom and Elk Grove, we had a problem getting the services provided for RT Go to get all the way out to our service areas, because we didn't have enough drivers and enough vehicles. I was just concerned about the expansion going out there and not having enough infrastructure.
Yeah, and that's something to consider, because right now YCTD has 4 routes that go through West Sacramento. Are they going to continue to do that? Are they going to provide the paratransit service, or do we now have that service? And that depends if we annex them or if we're just providing that service by contract. So great questions. Unfortunately, I don't have the answer for you at the moment, but things that we have to consider. The good news is, I mean, Elk Grove and Folsom are really at the far ends of our county, and West Sacramento is just across the river. So it's less of an operational impact, and kind of less deadhead. The facility is just right here, a couple miles away. So it would be less of an impact for us to expand in a place that's so close to our existing services.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right, the question that I had, I'm sorry, Jeff, go ahead.
I was simply going to ask is, how do you turn it around on the Sacramento side? Is it going to use the 13th Street, or are you going to be having a, should we say, lever where you can put it to go back and forth? Just, and is there a website, and is there now a revised map of how it is locating through there? I didn't see either one of those.
Thank you for that. So we are, as part of the Sac Valley Station project, we're going to turn our station at Sac Valley Station 90 degrees. We're also going to be double tracking H Street as well. So what's going to happen is we're going to come into Sac Valley Station, and we're going to come out with the other way. So we're going to come in one way and be able to come out, because we have 2 tracks. We'll have a switch over. So we have 2 tracks that come into Sac Valley Station, and we'll have a switch over right before Sac Valley Station as well. So we can turn around that same train either on one side. We can have it go to the right or the left, and then when we come out, we can have it switch over as well. Yes, sir. And also the gold line, which goes there too, we'll be able to use that switch over as well. And that's one of the operational efficiencies that we're getting as part of the Sac Valley Station. It's kind of a project that mostly benefits that station, not us. But what we're getting out of it is we're getting double track on H Street, which would really help our operational recovery.
Thank you. Any other public comment here in the room? Any public comment from members of the public on Zoom? No, okay. Thank you. Yeah, my question is, as you're looking out forward, what are or do you see any major potential obstacles to getting this whole project completed? And you may or may not want to address that fully.
Well,
but
there's a reality here that this will be an expansion of service. And as such, it will cost more money. So that new revenue source has to come from somewhere, and it has to come from West Sacramento or a new revenue source of some kind. There is a tight fiscal position at SAC-RT at the moment where we cannot expand service. We don't have money to run new service. So the ability to run the service will be contingent upon new revenue sources by whatever means that is. And it could be West Sacramento or possibly another revenue source that comes about by the time this operates.
Got it. Okay, thank you for your candor.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other questions or comments for Anthony? Many thanks, Anthony. Really appreciate
you.
the
Thank you.
update. Okay, moving on to old business, item C, S700 LRV update with Anthony Cristofaro. I'm sorry for butchering the name. There he is. Oh, we got both. Vince and Michael show. Well, yeah,
Good afternoon, MAC members and chair. Anthony's not here, so myself and Michael do our best to give this update. I'm gonna first touch on the closed items. One, the stroller policy, there's no change. It's gonna be the same as the legacy fleet. The exterior push to open button height and replacement. There's
Yeah, there was no change to that. Push to open button height and placement, correct. There's going to be no change there. The activation strip that was talked about last meeting with Henry. That is also a closed item. Detectable warning tile, item 4. That was the door DWTs, right? I think there were some questions that came up with that, and Craig Norman explained that and how they were going to lay those out in fashion, in combination because of the.
I'm sorry, could you get a little closer to the mic?
Craig Norman explained that in the last meeting about the detectable warning tiles and how they were going to be placed. I remember that. That was closed. And the priority seating area seat height was also closed. That was explained. All the seat heights were looked at and communicated what those were. So that should also be the closed item there in that bucket number A.
Henry's on for the.
And Henry will be on for
So the future agenda items, we have just the between car barriers. And I believe Henry's online on Zoom to maybe speak about that.
Good afternoon. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. The between car barriers is something that we're still looking into. And a decision hasn't been made. Hopefully by the next MAC meeting, we'll be able to make a decision on how we move forward with that. So for now, I will still table it as a future agenda item. When we start the new low floor rollout, we will not have it already resolved. It will still be an open item. But like I said, we will look into it by the next MAC meeting.
Thank you, Henry. We'll come back to you for number 4 of the open agenda items. That's the barricade at the mini high ramp. So number one of the open agenda items is the in-person customer service support efforts during launch. I believe Jessica touched on that earlier.
Yes.
Number two, the bike policy. So the bike policy has been amended, and that amendment is we're going to allow bikes to sit in the priority seating area when there's nobody occupying the priority seating area. We heard that people, if it's available, they don't want to stand the whole trip from, say, Folsom to Sac Valley. So if the seating is available, by all means, they can utilize that priority seating area. They will have to surrender that seat if needed, but we feel that's a remedy for having a seat. So that's the only amendment for the bike policy. Number three, the exterior ramp deployment tone.
Good afternoon again. Michael Cormier, Director of Light Rail Maintenance. Here for Anthony, the additional exterior ramp tone parts have been ordered. So we are moving ahead. Typical order fashion, probably 3 to 4 weeks before we see those parts. But we are moving ahead, and that'll assist the overall issue of the ability to hear. Yes. So anyway, parts have been ordered. We're moving ahead on that. In time as the fleets become tested. There's still, timeline is still open, but eventually there will be a tone that mimics TriMet in Seattle. So same car design. The nice thing is we were able to plagiarize some of the inner workings of what they're doing to make this work. So beautiful. Thank you. And barricades, Henry again.
And Henry, if you could be a little closer to your microphone this time. Thanks.
Okay, give me a minute. Let me do that.
Okay.
Can you hear me better now?
It's about the same. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm literally in front of the microphone, my computer mic. Okay. I wanted to discuss this with Mac because, we try to move expeditiously with some of these proposals. And when we hear really good and very innovative suggestion from MAC members, we take that into consideration. We do that seriously. And this is one case where we are moving forward with a solution that we got feedback from some MAC members, and we had to rethink the way we were going. So as you all know, on the goal line, once we start the low floor train operations, there will be no need for people to use the mini high ramp, especially once you get past the CBD area where we will still be sharing operations with the legacy fleet. So the gold line specific stations, those mini high ramps will no longer be used. Our long-term plan, of course, is to demolish those mini high ramps, and we take them out of service, demolish them. But we're not there yet. It's going to be some time before we do that. So in the interim, we have to close it off so people don't use it. Our initial proposal was to just put a chain across it and put a sign on the chain that says it's closed, which we thought would work okay until we got a feedback from NAC members that for the visually challenged, especially those with service animals, that can be a problem because the service animals can walk under the chain. So we had to come up with something interim in the near term. There were certain things that came up with that suggestion. One of them is having audible alert to tell people that, especially the visually challenged, that basically have a tone that will tell them. We looked into that. Our major challenge in that area is securing those devices. It's going to be stolen, vandalized. We just don't, in the near term, we just don't have a means of securing them. So that created a challenge that we cannot overcome. On the other hand, the solid gate, which was one of the suggestions that was made to us, we decided to look into that. That's going to take some time for us to put those gates in place. But that's something that we are looking into, and it's probably going to be the what I will call near-term solution until we demolish the platforms. But in the meantime, as we're rolling out the low floor trains, we still want something that will provide barrier, some solid barrier, so that service animals cannot go under the chain. So with that, we've come up with a solution that, while it will still be open to vandalism, we believe we can do that for about 2 weeks to 3 weeks while we work to have the gates in place. So we have a two-stage approach. The first one is to put an A-frame over the chain, so the A-frame will provide a solid barrier across the ramp entrance, so service animals will not be able to go through. But because those A-frames will be vandalized, as you all know, most of our properties are, we're not going to keep them for too long. We're just going to keep them for about 2 weeks to a month while we put the gates in place. So that is the solution that we've come up with, and I want to present that to Mark and seek their opinion on those.
Okay, gentlemen.
Thank you, Henry. That's all we have for our updates.
Okay, great. I'm going to start out with a question.
Can I just respond to something before you
Sure, go ahead.
collect or get any questions, any further questions? I just wanted to acknowledge the information that was presented to the MAC in this format was prepared based on the feedback received and also requested by the MAC. So this is how we're trying to show, the closed agenda items, the future agenda items, and the open agenda items, so that there's some structure, if you will, a little more structure. So sorry I didn't acknowledge that in the beginning of your presentation.
Okay, thanks, Priscilla. I think that helps out a lot. My question is, what is the time frame for demolition of the high floor ramps that you have?
Right now, we don't have the money to do so. Let me just be straightforward. We'll have to get the money first to do that. But based on the way we're working now, the way we're moving forward, we're looking at anything from, and this me just speaking, it's not that we have anything in plans. Like I said, we don't have money at this point. We're looking at anything from 2 years on to do this.
Okay, so that means the solid barrier is really fairly time sensitive, if I understand the situation correctly. So
It is because the temporary solution we're proposing, we intend to keep it in place for the period when we will also have a fairly regular outreach presence on the platforms. So in the 2 weeks to 1 month when we will have this A-frame barrier, we will also hopefully have people, especially during the high ridership period, on the platform helping as we introduce the low floor trains. After that, we intend to actually have the gates that we will close off the high run for the duration until they are demolished.
okay, thank you very much for that. I'm going to open the questioning from MAC members to those here in the room first. Any questions or comments from members here in the room? Are there any questions or comments from MAC members on Zoom?
Jeff?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, it seems to me that the solution that you've proposed is sort of the best that can be hoped for under the circumstances. My question, Jen, will the gate have a sign in both print and braille to specify that, you know, the ramp's no longer used or whatever?
Jeff, thank you very much. Yeah, we're looking into that. Right now, it will have a sign, definitely, and we're looking into the possibility of also having braille on that sign.
Yeah, that would be very helpful. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Gene?
Any comments from members of, I'm sorry, Gene?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I agree with Jeff that for the 4 weeks, having the chain with the A-frames on it, that it's reasonable. There's still some issues, but that with the understanding that a new solid, stable barrier with color contrasting surface is present. The tactile sign is not an option. That is something that would need to be there for equity, because you're providing that information for everyone else that it's closed, and you do need permanent material to make the sign, not paper or plastic. It is going to be the same material that at least is as durable as the other tactile signs you have in the station. And for equity and program access, you have to have the tactile sign and meeting the requirements of the California Building Code with the mounting heights under consideration. Even when you get the permanent gate, that you have to have a tactile sign. Regarding the audible, that is required in the public right-of-way guidelines that were issued last year, went into effect on September 7th. That clearly state in R303 that you have to have an audible information device. It's not an option, it's a requirement. Now, you could always weld a pole or to that at the end of the platform, just similar like where you have signs attached to it, and have a device, one of these devices on top of it. It could be out of the reach of somebody unless they got a ladder. And they do have some of those devices that are solar paneled driven, so with a battery. It's not like you're going to have to replace them AA batteries frequently. The solar panels can take care of it, because there are people that are going to, it's another modality for equity that people only can understand or use audible information. Some people, because of their nature of their sensory disabilities, may not benefit from audible, but visual or tactile or both, they can benefit from it. So what I'm saying is your long-term solution has to require the permanent raised characters in Braille signs, saying it's closed, and the audible information device that will pick up somebody within no more than 15 feet away, alerting them of the presence of the ramp. And this is something that, unfortunately, Henry, we have talked about this going at least 2 or 3 years about there needed to be something. And I'm very pleased that you are being proactive and looking into these other solutions. But I just ask you to go back and reconsider on these required signs, audible and tactile. Thank you. And I guess the other thing that I'd like to ask, going back to, I think it's item 2, the bicycle policy. I fully understand where the bicyclists are coming from. They don't want to stand up with their bicycle from one end to the other end of the line. Absolutely understand that, and understand that when there's a vacancy that they'll go there. How? I know you're going to have sometimes people on cars, sometimes in the station, but how are you going to enforce it when it's a 3-car train? It's the last car. Somebody who uses a scooter or a wheelchair that may be powered or manual, or a walker, and needs that priority seating, even an ambulatory person, and the bicyclist says, no, you just have to wait for another train. I'm not going to give up this area. It's a little easier when you got a driver right there, but when you have no driver to deal with the issue, what does the person with the disability, how are they going to address that in your policy, and how is it going to be enforced? Thank you.
So I can speak on that, Gene. This is Vince again, Director of Light Rail. I used to be the Director of Police Services, so I know a little bit about what's going to happen. So it will rely on having TAs on the train and TAs doing their job. If they do come across somebody that, and security, we'll have more security at that time, but if they come across a dispute, so to speak, of a person refusing to yield the seat per law, they can be cited. It's something that everybody can utilize the Alert SACRT app and alert our SOC so they can summon somebody to that car if there's not a TA or a security guard on board. But it is the law, and if the person refuses, they could be issued a citation. We just have to monitor it. That's the best answer I can give you right now. But it's just something that has to be monitored, and we will enforce it if the person refuses to give up their seat in front of the officer that's asking them to surrender it.
So, okay, then let me ask a follow-up question. And I think you've already said this in the past. There is no button or any method for a passenger to push a button to get help, because not everyone's going to have a phone that they can easily use. You may have some extreme person that may actually take the phone away from the person, or the phone might be dead, whatever. So relying on the app is one way. and you don't have anyone from the company in that particular car, what does the person just do? Do they then occupy the aisle until somebody gets aboard from the company?
So we do have an emergency button on the S700 cars that they could alert the operator. That hasn't changed. I wouldn't want any passenger to engage with someone. That's not what we're looking for. We want everyone to be safe. You know, I don't want to say occupy the aisle to create that disturbance, but our TAs move 1 to 3 stations each car. So our hope is that we'd have a TA or some type of enforcement person board the car before you were finished with your trip. But there is a passenger emergency button on the car.
I look forward to seeing that on Saturday, that button for my education. I'm not suggesting that the passenger, and I will stop, occupy the aisle as a means of protest or stopping the system moving, but somebody's, is in a hurry, just like the bicyclist, to get somewhere, and they're not going to want to wait, to get off and wait for another train. They're going to say, I got to go somewhere. I'm going to ride wherever I can find a free spot. That's the only reason I mentioned that. And that's something should be considered the possibility. Somebody trying to be reasonable, but not wanting to end up being out on the platform and the train takes off and they got to wait for another train. Thank you.
Thank you, Gene. And I hear you. We'll look into this more, but thank you.
Thanks, guys. Any other questions from MAC members on Zoom? Okay, coming down to the members in the room. Helen?
Does that law that you just cited about not surrendering your seat, does that apply to the bus as well?
I believe it does. Yeah.
That's my understanding.
I think we need a little more education for the people on the bus, because I have had several times where somebody says, I ain't moving. And the bus driver says, okay. And then I can't get on. And there's plenty of room in the rest of the bus. So I think
I can speak to that.
On that law.
I can speak to that because
I want to agendize for further discussion. So, okay. Now, I'll take questions from members of the public in the room. Jeff Tardagia.
I know these vehicles do not have Wi-Fi internally. Where are the cameras placed for the doors and the, should we say, accessible area? I didn't see them the last time that I looked through there. So just wondering where the cameras internally and externally are for that purpose, so the operator knows what's going on.
That's a good question, Jeff. And there are actually a lot more cameras on these cars. And I'm sorry that you didn't see them, but we have cameras on each end of the car. We have cameras looking at every entry point. We also have in the middle of the train a 360-degree fishbowl type camera that is, you can see everything from that camera. And also, although we don't have cameras outside of the train, we have electronic mirrors. They still could act like a camera. So there's so much more video capability from these new cars. Another thing from the new cars too is audio. So right now the audio for the legacy fleet only comes from the cab. With the new S700 cars, the audio is throughout the whole car.
Okay. Yes, Helen.
Does that video go to the cab where the driver is so that he can monitor if someone is coming on and has to get back off because the wheelchair place is full and needs to go to the next door?
Good
I don't know if
question.
if that's,
And it does not. So that video goes to our security operations center and our control room at Metro Control. They can look into the car live and be able to see things, but it doesn't, Helen, to answer your question, no, the operator's not monitoring the inside of the car.
okay, because that could be an issue because we talked about how is somebody going to know that somebody got on the back of the car. The area is full, but the area next to it on the other end of the car is available. Then the assistive device needs to exit, go down, get back on.
And you're completely right. And we've addressed that with our staff. So the train operators know that if they see a wheelchair come off of the train, to wait, give it some time to see if the person in the chair is going to a different door or a different car. So that's part of our training. So they know that to give extra time for a person in the chair, they might not just be deboarding, they might be deboarding to go to a different door.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any questions from members of the public on Zoom? Okay, hearing none. Gentlemen, thank you very much, all three of you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. We have no items under new business. Is there any other business? And at this point, I'll ask Jeff, Tom, if you have anything that you'd like to say, or are we good?
Again, I have nothing to say. Good job, Mr.
All right.
Chair,
You know, I keep pressing the issue, Jeff, and you keep giving me the same darn answer. This is wonderful. Okay. Let's move on to.
Gene wanted to say something, I think. He had tried to speak up.
Are you coming to request for information?
I'm just getting there. Announcements,
Sorry.
council members, and requests for information. So, Jeff, I'm sorry,
Okay.
Gene.
Yeah. I'd like to see that we have an update before the end of the year on the Watt I-80 Transit Center project that I believe has started. One of the things that the Access Infrastructure Committee had asked for, and we were told that we would hear about this after the contractor had been selected and the contract was approved, and that were two items of accessibility. On the bus plazas where they'll be extending them, they're going to be putting in bollards to protect passengers from the speeding traffic on Watt Avenue. And what was being proposed was a metallic matte finished silver bollard. We had asked, and our low vision people that were present during the meeting asked for a yellow bollard, entirely yellow. The question was, would the company that RT wanted subcontract to do that, could they provide it? And I did find that they did have it. It's considered custom. They can make it any color the RT wants. The other thing was, I know we had asked for stair striping to be yellow, and what most of the companies have, which glows, the yellowish green, which is not that as visible as the yellow orange. And we had asked for them to do some research to see if they could get the yellow orange, which is the same color like the detectable warnings, that shade, which is more visible at nighttime and then under most lighting situations. So just to get an update on that and the overall project and how things are going, because I know it's going to take a while to complete this project in stages. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gene. Any other requests for information or announcements or updates? Helen?
Yes, I was under the impression that RT Go is in process of getting a new contract with the employees that actually drive the vehicles. If it's possible to get a high overview or an update on where that process is at the moment. The contract was up, I believe, at the end of June. So, or maybe July, but I think it was the end of June. I'd appreciate it.
Are you addressing that, Richard?
Yes, I can address
Thank
that.
you.
This is Richard Mitchell, Director of Community Contract Bus Services. So I oversee SAC-RT Go. And yes, the contract ended with the ATU on June 30th, 2024. But as we were already involved in negotiations, that was mutually agreed to be extended. And that's usually the common practice when you're in negotiations on a collective bargaining agreement. And we've had, I can't remember off the top of my head, but at least maybe like 10 meetings. And our next meeting is scheduled for the 28th of August. And I know we're getting close to the conclusion. I can't really go into any of the specifics, but we only have a small handful of items outstanding. So we're hoping that we can wrap this up in the next couple of meetings.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Richard. Okay, anything else, Richard? Like
Under announcements, I wanted to officially introduce my new superintendent, Thomas Russell Jr., and allow him to speak and give a little bit of his background. But he started on August 1st. He comes to us from AC Transit and has a pretty extensive transit background. So let Thomas come up and give a little brief introduction to the MAC committee.
Very good. Thank you. And Thomas, looking forward to hearing from you here, buddy.
Good morning, good afternoon now, Chair and committee members. My name is Thomas Russell Jr. As Richard said, I joined SAC-RT August 1st. I come from AC Transit, almost 10 years, where I began as a bus operator, did various other positions like in timekeeping, administrative clerking, office manager, and assistant superintendents. I'm glad to be here. It's a lot to learn, but I have a passion for being here, especially overseeing RT Go and community bus service. As the need community holds a special place in my heart, as I have a 9-year-old niece who has Down syndrome. So I understand the importance of providing this service, and I look forward to the continued improvement to the department. And I'm glad to be working with you guys. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you. And one question, AC Transit?
Alameda Contra Costa Transit District in Oakland. So it was a pretty big agency, but I'm glad that I'm going to be able to bring my experience over here and continue to elevate the district.
Well, thanks for moving inland.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, welcome aboard. Okay, any other announcements or requests for information?
I have an announcement.
Oh, go ahead, Priscilla.
Okay. Well, I did want to try and send an email to the MAC before now, just to inform you that today is Austin's last day. He's not leaving the district. He's just accepted a promotion as an admin tech in light rail maintenance. So today is actually his last day. You taking him, Michael?
All right.
And I wanted to welcome Alan, and it's Camarinia, and I'm not sure, Alan. I think I've chopped up your last name. It's better than that. It sounds a lot better. Go ahead.
Yes.
It's Figueroa Camarena, which is the Spanish pronunciation.
Thank you. And Alan is with us. He's a temp who's been working to learn the ropes with Austin for the last week. So,
All right, well, Austin, it's been great having you on board, and good luck in your new position. And gosh, the Accessible Services Department seems to be a hotbed of training people for the rest of the RT. Anyway,
Thank you, Charles.
you got it. Jeff Tartagia.
I just wanted to make sure before you adjourn that you announce that next month meeting is going to be at a new location and how we access it.
Okay, thank you very much for that reminder, Jeff. It is going, and I've forgotten the address, so maybe someone can remind me. But it will be at the new, I don't know if you call it the administrative facility or what, but it's on 11th Street. And
1102 Q Street.
11th, oh, I'm sorry, it's on Q Street.
yeah, 1102 Q Street.
1102 Q Street. And I know that there have been some logistical problems with, especially with SAC-RT Go and things like that drop off. And I assume those have been cleared up. And so we're ready to do that. Several of us have had the good fortune to visit the building, and it is absolutely wonderful. The meeting room is, compared to this room, it's much better. It's top shelf. So really looking forward to meeting there. And I hope the logistics issues will be no problem.
Yeah, there's been a lot of testing, and I believe we will be ready to go for the September 19th MAC meeting, and everyone will have the information in the agenda packet. But thank you, Jeff, for bringing that up. Appreciate it. Should have made a little note for myself to mention that, but yes, September is going to be the first time that we'll be in the new location.
Right. Yeah, I think everybody will like it. Okay, anything else?
It's on the 4th floor, right?
Correct.
Suite number what?
Yeah, it's the regional transit auditorium.
Okay, thank you.
And we'll
think
be
it's
we'll be
Suite
there,
400,
Suite 400, but we'll also be out to make sure that everyone gets in and up to the right location and inside of the auditorium.
Okay. Okay, anything else? Do I hear a motion for adjournment?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Do I hear a
Ellen.
second? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. Have a good month. And happy Labor Day.